That book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the Black
exactly
Book
what I
under
was
the
talking.
direct control of the FBI director.
3 minutes ago, something happened in Congress that no one in that room was prepared for. It didn't start with shouting. It didn't start with accusations. It didn't start with a fight. Everything started with a file. When Representative Jamie Raskin entered the hearing room, the stack of documents in his hands was so thick that the security scanner had to beep twice. The officers looked at each other. One of them noticed the red labels on the edge of the file. Raskin waited, smiled, and calmly said, "Everyone will be looking at this shortly." Minutes later, FBI Director Kash Patel sat at the witness table. As always, he was calm. There was not a single emotion on his face. He had worn that mask perfectly for years. But this time, something was different, and the entire room felt it. If you are new to this channel, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what is about to happen is not an ordinary hearing. This is the moment the wall breaks. Let's make the scene clear. A congressional oversight hearing. Morning hours. The room is completely full. Journalists are lined up against the back wall. Cameras are ready. Everyone is expecting the usual questions and the usual evasive answers. Then Raskin took the microphone. "Director Patel," he said, "I want to talk about certain documents that arrived at my office approximately 48 hours ago." Patel's expression did not change. He had heard this before. Anonymous sources, leaks, allegations. "I am not asking whether you are aware of them," Raskin continued. "I am telling you what is inside them." He opened the first file. Inside were internal FBI communications, emails, directives, internal reports, documents spanning 6 years, from 2019 to the beginning of 2025. Raskin paused. "These documents," he said, "show how the Epstein investigation was directed, delayed, and eventually completely stopped." The room held its breath. This was not an expected silence. This was the silence that comes from the weight of what was just heard. Patel leaned forward slightly. "I categorically reject that characterization." "In a moment," Raskin said. "First, let's look at the facts." He lifted the first document. June 2019. An FBI field office reports more than 30 individuals connected to the Epstein network. There are witness statements. There are flight records. There are financial connections. And authorization is requested to open formal investigations into these individuals. Raskin locked eyes with Patel. "Do you know what the response from headquarters was?" Patel did not answer. Raskin read it aloud. "Not advisable at this time. Further evaluation is recommended." The room began to stir. "That was 6 years ago," Raskin said. "How much longer were they supposed to wait?" Patel shifted slightly in his seat. "Investigative priorities." "Let's continue," Raskin cut him off. The second file was opened. August 2019, 1 week after Epstein's death. Internal directive. The case is closed. All subsidiary investigations are suspended. All materials are to be transferred to headquarters. Raskin paused. "Do you know what that means in FBI language? Bury it and forget it." Journalists began taking notes rapidly. Patel's jaw tightened. "But it didn't end there," Raskin said. He pulled out another document. January 2020. An analyst asks why action against Maxwell is being delayed despite sufficient evidence. What was the response? He read it aloud. Political sensitivities. Clearance pending. Raskin looked up. "Whose political sensitivities, Director?" Silence. Patel's hands reflected his tension. Raskin continued. March 2021. After Maxwell was convicted. An agent reports that she provided 47 names. Recommendation: immediate investigation. He pointed to the margin of the document. A handwritten note. Not approved. High-level decision. Raskin repeated the word. High level. Then he picked up the red-covered file. This document, he said, was declassified this week by order of a federal judge. Patel's face changed for the first time. Date, February 2025, 2 weeks after you took office. Raskin read the title. Epstein-related investigations, new operational directives. He began reading. All files will be centralized. Field offices may not act without director approval. Witness interviews are suspended. Document requests are denied. Raskin stopped. And at the bottom, he said, is your signature. The room erupted. Whispers, cameras, the sound of the gavel. Patel stared at the screen. His own signature stood behind him, enlarged. Director Patel, Raskin said calmly, do you recognize this document? There was no answer. Do you recognize your signature? Silence. Patel's attorney jumped to his feet. My client! Sit down, Raskin said. He can answer. But Patel did not answer. Raskin stood up. This directive did not slow the investigation, he said. It ended it. He held up another document. After this signature, FBI activity related to Epstein dropped by over 90%. Interviews stopped. No new evidence, no new action. Then came the next document. This, Raskin said, is the FBI's internal protection list. He lifted it. 47 names, each with a code next to it. He read them. Political sensitivity, diplomatic risk, national security, and executive branch protection. The room was holding its breath. Executive branch protection, Raskin repeated. 12 individuals. He turned to Patel. Is this National Security Director, or is it a cover-up? Patel's attorney stood again. My client is invoking his Fifth Amendment right. Voices rose across the room. The FBI director was invoking the Fifth. Raskin nodded. So the director of the FBI believes that answering questions about child trafficking would incriminate him. He turned to the cameras. Tomorrow morning, all of these documents will be released to the public. He looked at Patel. The truth always comes out. The hearing technically continued, but no one was listening, because Kash Patel had gone completely silent. He had invoked the Fifth Amendment, and 47 names were left hanging in the air. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe now. The documents are released tomorrow. And this story does not end here.